We're talking about affairs, everybody, today. We're talking about affairs and 4 practical ways to affair-proof your marriage. This is the topic I have been asked by several clients actually this week. So I want to unpack that. I'm Dr. Karen. If we haven't met, I've been doing this work for over 25 years. I am a leadership relationship expert. I'm also a professional, a mental health profession. I've been doing this work for a long, long time. And a lot of our clients, they're business leaders, but we also work with them on the family side actually as well. And so this topic around affairs, it is all over the place. And so there's 4 things that I want us to really dial in. If we want to have a great relationship, we want a faithful relationship, what are 4 things? It is really important that all of us are making sure that we actually are applying. Okay, so the first thing, if you've read my book, The 3 Chairs, this is a business leadership book. Okay, this is a business book. However, it's about the 3 mindsets that we actually all have. And this came up actually this past week because I was talking to one of our business clients and he's like, gosh, Karen, I got the book for our team, but I'm reading it and I'm realizing, oh my goodness, this is so applicable for myself as a leader. And I'm even kind of thinking it through the lens around why are some of my team members having affairs? And yes, it's all part of it, everybody. It's all part of it. So the first thing, again, if you haven't read the book, very quickly, left chair is somebody who's more insecure. Right chair is someone who's more arrogant. Middle chair is the person who actually is more confident. Okay, so those are kind of like the 3 mindsets. Once we understand the 3 mindsets, this is all based on science. You can actually make very strong predictions on how you think people are going to make decisions. I created the 3-chair concept almost 30 years ago for teenagers, and it is so crazy on how powerful, once you actually really understand the 3 mindsets and you understand, start getting into the research on how significant where a person sits completely changes their life. Okay, and just this past week, like I said, I was talking to one of our business clients, and she said, I have heard you speak, I've read the book, I've seen your TED Talk, and I'm seeing and understand the 3 chairs from a totally different lens now when I actually start seeing all these people actually having affairs around me. And so I'm going to be explaining how the 3 chairs affects actually affairs. So the first thing, everybody, if we want to affair-proof our marriage, we've got to learn to sit in that middle chair, having the mindset around confidence, not arrogance, not insecurity, having a sense of confidence. And you know what? One of the biggest variables of somebody who actually sits in that middle chair is humility. It's humility. If we want to affair-proof our marriage, we want to have a great relationship, we need to have humility. What do I mean by that? It concerns me when I hear people say, I will never have an affair. I would never get divorced. I would never blah, 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 blah. We are all human. We are all capable of making terrible decisions. All of us, me, you, everybody. And so we need it's so incredibly important that we have a sense of humility, that we are all, we can in an instant, any of us can make a really bad, poor decision that has massive consequences in our life, our business, our relationship. And so having a sense and a posture of humility, and making sure that, yes, I never want that, and that's not it's against my character and my value systems, and realizing that we're all capable of it, I think is actually a really important posture. Because when we're humble, you know what happens? We're more careful. And when we're humble, we're more aware and cautious. When we get arrogant, we can be flippant with decisions, and we don't want to be flippant. Our relationship, our marriage is too sacred of a relationship. We want to have a sense of humility. Okay, so that's number 1, and that's actually all based on that middle chair. Number 2, this is really interesting, is we want to make sure that we have the courage to talk around real issues or things that we're needing in our relationship. Our partner cannot read our mind. Our partner is different than the way we are. And so what we often find, and this is in the book, in the book we talk about, I write about communication and where a person actually sits and how that actually impacts their communication. So when a problem pops up, whether it's in a marriage or whether or not it's actually in a business context, where a person sits in those three chairs highly predicts with a lot of certainty in terms of how they impact and choose how to deal with conflict. So somebody in that left chair will tend to keep it to themselves, okay? So they tend to be more passive, they keep it to themselves, they don't have the courage to talk about it with other people, or they might be passive aggressive, so they don't talk to you about it, they talk to a third party. The person in that right chair, they tend to be very arrogant and they tend to kind of go and they blast the person, or they're super critical or aggressive towards another person. And the person in that middle chair is they have a sense around that they really want to be assertive. They want to problem solve. So they want to kind of lean in and try to really solve things constructively and in a healthy way. So that's kind of like just high level. That's how communication impacts the three chairs. So you can apply that from a business, you can apply it to friendship, you can also apply it to marriage. Where affairs comes in, okay, and this is what I was talking about with one of my clients, is every relationship is going to have issues. Every relationship, every marriage is going to have some kind of problems or issues that come up. But where you sit will highly impact how people deal with those issues. So what we find is people who are in that left or the right chair are more at risk for having affairs. Why is that the case? Because affairs are very passive aggressive. So what we often see with people who have affairs is that they don't know how to talk to maybe they try to bring up an issue with their partner, or they just like that, well, it's not going to go anywhere, so why bother? So they, instead of dealing with the issue head on and having courage with the issue head on, what they do is they just find somebody kind of on the side. And so having an affair is extremely passive aggressive. And so that's the one side. On the other side, so that tends to be here. We can also see people over here a lot of times more at risk for also having an affair, because they're like, I don't really care how this is going to impact my partner. I'm better than you anyway. I've got that superior mindset. So they don't really care. They don't really care around how it impacts their partner. They're just going to do it anyway. So we see that also in that kind of right chair. We also see in a relationship that people who actually sit in this chair, they tend to be really critical. So a common dance that happens in a lot of relationships is one partner is super critical and putting the other person down. And the other person's like, you know what, I don't even know how to talk with my partner, so I'm just going to have somebody on the side because at least I'm getting love from somebody else. And so these two are often very attracted to each other. So what about somebody in that middle chair? Well, in that middle chair, what happens is the person is like, okay, this is an issue, this is like something that I want, I'm going to lean in and have the courage to talk about it one-on-one with my partner. I'm going to respect myself, I'm going to respect my partner, and the focus is on problem solving. That is the foundational issue. That's the foundational mindset of somebody who actually sits in that middle chair. And so we see that a lot of times, and nothing is black and white, nothing is kind of that, we can't measure things like that in with psychology and with research like this, but we can say people who are healthier are less likely to have affairs. And so it is really important, step number 2 is that we are helping ourselves sit in that middle chair, and that we are actually really learning how to be assertive and really focus on issues. And if you're liking this content, everybody, we have a great relationship scorecard that kind of measures the 5 kind of core skills if you're actually sitting in that middle chair. So just in the comments below, write health, okay? And somebody from our team will actually send you that scorecard so you can actually measure your relationship EQ and see how you're doing, and actually find out what parts are you doing well, what parts actually need a little bit of work. But communications is one of those 5. You'll see that in the free scorecard. So just write, again, health below, and somebody from our team will send that to you. Okay, so that's number 2. Okay, so first one is have a mindset around humility. Number 2 is really aiming to sit in that middle chair, being assertive, having the courage to talk to your partner about what it is that you need. That kind of like goes into the third one, which is get clarity about what it is that you need. When I do marriage coaching, when I do relationship coaching, it's something that I've been teaching for years. When I'm doing business conferences, it's actually very interesting. When I speak at conferences, a lot of times they want me to do 2 keynotes. They want one to be more on business leadership topic, and they want the other one to be more of a family marriage relationship topic, which I actually love. I love being able to offer and teach both, because I've been doing this for so long and I'm qualified and a specialist in both areas. And so when I speak specifically more on the relationship side, I try to get my audiences to think about what are kind of your top 3 things that you really need from your partner. What are the top 3 things you need? What are the top 3 things that they need? And be very intentional to try to give your partner with what they need and vice versa. Life is so full. Life is so busy. A lot of us, we're traveling, we're building businesses, we're raising families. We've got lots of philanthropy and volunteering that we're doing. Like for a lot of us, our lives are very full. And so what I find is that if we don't have clarity, if we don't get razor focused on like, okay, what are the top 3 things I need from my husband? I've been married for 22 years. I need to know what my top 3 things are and to communicate that to him and have the courage to communicate that to him. And I need him and want him to know with what his top 3 things are and to communicate that to me so that I can give him with what he needs and he can give me with what I need. And that's when you really start kind of like getting into an amazing sync and synergy with your partner. And so really kind of get clarity. What are the top 3 things that you need? And the last one, everybody, is yes, humility is great. And being assertive and sitting in that middle chair is great. And knowing your top 3 needs is great. Yes, yes, yes. To kind of protect it, we need to set boundaries. Boundaries are the other way to really foolproof your relationship. So boundaries are all kinds of things. Boundaries around time, making sure that are you connecting at least 20 minutes per day, emotional connection. Setting boundaries in terms of physical intimacy. Are you having regular physical intimacy? It's very, very important in a marriage. Are you setting boundaries around when you go out for a date that you're not always talking about your kids? Or if you're business partners, that you're not always talking about your business, that you set boundaries around so you can have time boundaries, emotional boundaries. Do you have clarity on your boundaries around your finances? Do you know that relationships, one of the biggest sources of stress is actually over money, not about how much money people make, it's how that actually money is managed. Do you have boundaries around how, when you travel? For example, I do a lot of traveling with my work. And so my husband and I are very clear about boundaries in terms of when I'm traveling, when I'm going to be talking to him. We try to always make sure that we're talking every single day for sure, having our emotional connection, even when I'm actually traveling. You can also have emotional boundaries in terms of same-gendered friendships. This is a really big one. I've got lots of amazing girlfriends. I've got lots and lots of amazing friends and colleagues. If I'm having an issue with my husband, though, I'm not talking about that with some of my male friends and colleagues. I would save that to talk about that with my husband and maybe 1 or 2 really close girlfriends. So there's boundaries around that. You want to make sure that you are protecting your relationship, everybody. You want to protect that relationship. Marriages, relationships are sacred. And boundaries, what it is, the way I describe it, I was speaking at conferences this week and I was describing what boundaries are like. Boundaries are like I love candles. So if I have a candle and I put it on the windowsill and I have no glass to protect it, give it a few minutes and wind is going to come and it's going to wipe it out. But if I put a candle on that windowsill and I put a piece of glass in front of it, that light's going to keep shining. That's what boundaries are. So our marriage, our relationship is the light. It's this beautiful candle, but to protect it is the windowsill, the glass. Boundaries protect your light. Boundaries protect your marriage and relationship. And if you don't have them, what happens is people will feel very insecure a lot of times in that relationship, an enormous amount of anxiety. And so to really kind of build a sense of security and unconditional love, and you want to make sure that you're actually setting boundaries. And so you can start thinking about what are some of the boundaries that we as a couple would really like to start, injecting and using in our relationship so we can protect this precious, precious relationship that we all have. Relationships consistently we see from science is one of the secrets for happiness. When we see everybody wants to be happy. What do we want to? Having healthy relationships, having healthy friendships is one of the secrets on happiness. And so we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to really help to build a healthy relationship and to protect that precious relationship. And so 4 things, everybody, to help yourself affair proof your marriage. Hope you've enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you check out some of the other videos that we have. We've got lots of videos. And if you have a suggestion with a topic you would love me to cover, just put in the comment section below. That's actually how we get all of our ideas. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in one of my other videos.